President Buhari meets governors on tackling the knotty issues of insecurity. Labour Minister shares thoughts on incessant industrial actions and possible solutions. INEC widens operations to prosecute electoral offenders. And also on political update today, the nation's political space, a labyrinth of different views. What is the place of ideology? We also have a discussion on state independent electoral commissions. How independent are they? I'm Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Welcome to Political Update. In continuation of his strategic engagements with stakeholders on security, President Muhammadu Buhari Thursday met with governors from the north, central and northwestern parts of the country.
Recall that many of the states have common features of insecurity that we have within our states, and we felt that we must also meet Mr. President about it. It's about the insecurity.
So what are the takeaways?
The takeaway will say that the meeting with the President was very fruitful, and we are also very committed, and we have seen a lot of commitments, so we're waiting for the implementation. And Mr. President has given us that assurance.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Defense, Bashir Magashi, says the nation's armed forces will not be deterred in its responsibility of defending the country, in spite of the casualties recorded.
Confidently report that Boko Haram and its allies have been dealt and are still being dealt a major blow.
This, the minister explained, not just on the military front, but also curtailing what he called the illegitimate financing that allows the criminal elements to source weapons and fresh recruits. He said as a result of the various military operations across Nigeria, including Lafia Dole, Thunderstrike, Wild Stroke, and Safe Haven, several key terrorist commanders have been neutralized and desperate attacks on soft targets increasingly foiled. He described the recent killing of soldiers in Benue State as unfortunate and intolerable.
The military is not taking kindly on that. Let me just tell you this. Whoever touches the military has no regard for this country. We are on the hunt for the killers of these soldiers, and we will ensure that they face the full wrath of the law.
The minister said out of the 12 weapons carted away from the deceased soldiers, 9 have been recovered, and some of the perpetrators are now being interrogated.
And still on security, some experts say Nigeria may have to concentrate more attention to northeastern flank in the fight against terrorism after the death of Chadian President Idris Deby, who recorded a lot of success in the fight against insurgents. Other commentators are of the view that Chad will continue to be Nigeria's partner in progress.
Be taken out, the Boko Haram insurgents will definitely be happy that they've succeeded in ridding the continent of one of their foes, and that means they will be happy. But if the situation is calm, if all answer is contained, and we are able to get support from the United Nations, from African Union, to stabilize the situation politically, there is a lot of backdoor diplomacy that needs to take place.
The death of the president can only slow down some certain things that are being on board, but it will just take some time, and then the agreement will be revalidated.
The death of Marshal Deby has the potential to complicate the security issue in northeast of Nigeria. So Nigeria has indeed lost a major ally. And whatever the internal politics that is going on in Chad, Nigeria must seek its national interest in that country. We cannot allow a major complication beyond what we already have.
Moving to labor issues now, determined to find lasting solutions to the spate of industrial action bedeviling the nation's public sector, President Buhari held a strategic meeting with the Minister of Labor and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige.
Working now to make the health workers feel that their efforts appreciated by government. So I have briefed him on that and briefed him also on, we have some fallouts from the ASU discussion and the agreements reached the memorandum of action so that we can meet up the timelines for certain things promised. Example, the revitalization fund. We also discussed the issue of the financial autonomy for the judiciary and legislature. As I finish from here, I'm going to do another meeting with the Chief of Staff so that we can make a move. The President Director will meet and study the situation so that we can advise the government side on what is best for this situation. Nobody is happy that the courts are closed. There is a lot of grievous implications. For the country, suspects cannot be taken to court for them to be remanded or for them to be put on bail. So it's a very incongruous situation for us.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has created 2 departments out of its Department of Legal Services. They are the Department of Litigation and Prosecution and the Department of Legal Drafting and Clearance. This is, the Commission says, is to strengthen its statutory powers of prosecuting election offenders. Also, a Gender and Inclusivity Department has been created, which before now was under Voter Education and Publicity Department. A statement by INEC Commissioner for Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, says the reorganizations will not affect the structure and functions of the state offices. Now, Nigeria is in its 21st year of uninterrupted democracy, with the conduct of successful elections used as one of the yardsticks for measuring progress. However, there are sundry issues like internal democracy by parties, the sanctity of the ballot, party ideology, and independence of the electoral bodies at the state and federal level. Joining us is Ambassador Agbo Major, acting national chairman, New Nigeria Party, and publicity secretary of IPAC. That's the the council that looks after the affairs of parties. Inter-Party Advisory Council, it is called IPAC. Thank you very much, Major Abu, for coming. First of all, let's start like this. The year started and we're seeing activities from the different parties, especially geared towards the elections later in the year in Anambra State. Is that the same in your party as the traffic begun?
Well, we're not just starting. We've started immediately after the 2019 general elections. As you are aware, the election cycle is 4 years. And 4 years is largely not enough to determine, in terms of, being able to present quality candidates. 4 years, as far as we are concerned as a party, is not enough to determine who is, well positioned to lead the people. So what I'm trying to say is that we started, preparing for 2023 just a day after the conclusion of the 2019 general election. So we are not just starting, we've been on it since 2019.
And we've witnessed many 4-year cycles since May 29, 1999. Now, how would you describe democratic practices? Are we maturing internally and in terms of, the ballot itself?
Well, I can tell you authoritatively, as a practitioner on the field in terms of party administration, that the parties are doing quite well. They are doing quite well internally. I think the problem we're having majorly now is the problem of getting the electorates to really understand and agree on what they want, because the choice is theirs. The parties will always present the enabling grounds for them to be able to bring out leaders that will do their will. But on their part, maybe because of the influence of money, so many other things, interplay of money, the ravaging hunger and all of that, they have been the issue. So the parties are not even looking at what they want to do internally anymore. What we're looking at is how do we get these electorates to really understand the need for them to key into what the parties are doing internally, so that the overall objective will be that our democracy will be better. But in terms of maturity, we are maturing. There's no doubt about that.
How do you galvanize interest in your parties, especially what people may say are the smaller parties in terms of, maybe reach and, visibility? How do you galvanize interest and perhaps, begin to get followership. When, for instance, run into some major elections, you have showed your logo, you have gone on road walks, you have campaigned and all that, and then on the eve of elections, your candidates will just throw in the towel, or not necessarily throw in the towel, just endorse. You see massive endorsement of one or two candidates, making perhaps the voter feel that perhaps some of these parties may not be particularly serious.
Well, these are some of the challenges we've had over time, and as you can see, the recent attempt to sanitize the polity through maybe the registration of political parties and all of that, they are all geared towards, or what do I call it? An aggregate of the complaints coming from Nigerians, an aggregation of the complaints coming from Nigerians. Part of what they were saying, which they are still saying, is that the parties themselves are unable to stand on their own. What they do, like you just said now, is most of them just feature candidates. At the end of the day, what they do is they collapse their structures. Their candidates go to declare for candidates of other political parties and all of that. But if you check through the records, you will discover that my party, for instance, the New Nigerian People's Party, has never done that in the past. And we do not intend to do that, because ab initio we knew what we set out. The primary role of every political party is to present candidates for elections. Not just presenting candidates, but to also go ahead and win election so that you'll be able to execute the programs of the party. So my party has never been guilty of what they are talking about. But then, by the judgment of Nigerians, a lot of the parties, especially some of those ones that were taken away, were guilty of that because, of course, we saw it happen. People will come, put in all the energies, present candidates and all of that, and then maybe a day or two to the election, they would come out to say, we are supporting this candidate, we are doing this, we are doing that. But my party has never done that.
For instance, we had one, prospective voter complaining on the social media before the general elections that he had even on his own gone out to print shirts for a particular candidate that he was expecting to vote for, only for the candidate at eve of the elections to, endorse someone else and all that. So that's an aspect of it. Second aspect of it is ideology. We have a situation where we have a lot of cross-carpeting in the Nigerian political space. Where is the place of ideology in all this? Is it just to capture votes, just like you have said, present candidates of the election, get the votes? What about the party ideology, the manifestos that you are preaching? Where does that stand in the scheme of things?
Well, the issue of ideology has been a very naughty issue. Nigerians have dwelt so much on it in the past, and even up till now, they are still talking about it. But one of the things we've been able to establish, even across the feelings and the thinking of scholars who have read the manifestos and programs of the entire political parties, they've come out with one thing, that is that each of the registered political party in Nigeria has an ideology. But what they are unable to ascertain is whether these ideologies are distinct or not. A lot of them come to cross themselves, they cross their paths, and all of that and all of that. So to say that parties have no ideologies,
a lot of people say, okay, there is a what you want to do, but hardly do you put the how in some of those manifestos. You say peace and tranquility, progress, infrastructure, this and that, but we hardly see the how.
Well, maybe you need to take your time to, just like other scholars have done, to also read through the manifestos of these political parties. You don't just say this is our ideology, these are the things we want to do, and fail to say how you want to do them.
All right, we'll still come back to you just before I'll come back to the ideology issue, but I need to take this one. What has been happening in the past few months? We have to look at the electoral process itself, and now before we go to the state elections in gubernatorial election or governorship election in Anambra State later in the year, we are seeing local government elections in different states. Just as we've said, we want local government elections, not standing administrators or whatever we've been having in different local government councils. But what we are seeing is something like some kind of everybody going in one direction. It's not showing. We're not seeing, something like what we normally see in the democracy. At least even some upsets and all that. It seems almost so predictable that we have a bandwagon effect across. Is that good for our democracy?
Well, are you looking at it from the angle of the off-season elections that have been conducted, or the local government elections? But your guess is as good as mine. The instrument that established the State Independent Electoral Commission puts the powers, to superintend over their activities in the hands of the state governments, the governor and the state parliament. So what do you expect? If, for instance, PDP is in power in Rivers, for instance, just a week ago they had an election in a constituency, in a local council where my party had done everything that it needed to do to win election. Materials were not taken there because probably the report they got were that if you take these materials there, they will defeat you there, they will embarrass you there. Materials did not get there. Now, I have another classical example of what happened to us, what befell us in Delta State about a month ago, where when they had local government election in Umutu Ward 17, precisely, of Ukwani local government, where we defeated the PDP, that is the government in power, with a very large margin. The results were declared by the returning officers, signed by the agents, copies given to the agents, only for the results to get to Asaba. And it was not what was announced at the polling units where the votes were cast.
Was there any time that the result passed through the rivers? I'm talking about Kenos and all that.
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't know what happened. But they could manufacture rivers or Kenos along the way and then intercept the results and do whatever they want to do with it. So.
Moving on, the Speaker of the House of Representatives says the 9th Assembly is committed to ensuring gender balance in the constitutional amendment process. Let's take that, then we'll return.
Here to advocate very strongly for gender equity, not because it's fashionable to do so, because I have experienced the capacity of the women I work with in the National Assembly.
House of Representatives under the able leadership of the Right Honourable Speaker, to make history by supporting the constitutional review.
I am particularly expectant to see the quality of thoughts and insights for strategic action that a meeting such as this will produce.
The House should continue to promote engagement with relevant stakeholders.
Once you are female and you go into politics, you must be a loose woman. We need to work very, very hard at changing that perception.
This is an aspect of our democracy that a lot of people still say needs some work. That's inclusivity, especially when you talk of gender, especially the women, in terms of their sheer number and what gets to them in terms of positions of authority. Your parties, especially since you are also the people, part of the people superintending over the affairs generally in terms of IPAC, do you discuss this in terms of including women as a statement?
We have passed the level of discussing it. We are at the level of implementing the decisions we've reached. We've gone beyond even the Beijing Declaration, the 35% affirmative action. As a political party, for instance, we're the only party in this country who have, we started, this idea of giving out tickets free just to woo the women into coming to contest for elective positions. You don't get to pay anything to get a ticket from us. We started it, I think, in 2007 or so, is there in the records. NNPP then stood out as the only party to have presented the highest number of female candidates in that election. It's there. You can check through the INEC records. Now, at the level of IPAC, we've had series of engagements on it. We've discussed it. We've had series of interface with foreign agencies, women organizations, civil society groups and all of that. And we've come to the conclusion that it's not just asking them to come out. What is required is that we must create the enabling environment for them to come out. We're looking at those knotty issues of maybe time when meetings are held. Those time comfortable for this woman to be able to participate effectively.
And there's still, meetings held.
Yeah, like holding night meetings. Somebody's wife, like for instance. Yeah, somebody's wife, for instance, if you expect somebody's wife to attend a meeting at 12 midnight with you, it's sacrilege. The man will not accept it because we're Africans, whether we like it or not. So we're looking at some of those issues. We've gone beyond that. We are now even just trying to enforce them. You know, unfortunately, the so-called bigger parties, they don't participate effectively in what we do. So some of these things we do, even if you begin to see their effects in what you call the smaller parties, which I take exception to most times, if you begin to see,
so-called. I said so-called.
If you begin to see the effects of these things we are doing, these changes we are bringing on board, in those so-called, to quote you, smaller parties, you won't see it. You won't see them in the bigger parties.
I'm also quoting
because
others.
they don't come. So we don't share ideas with them. So we're looking at issues bordering on time of meetings. We're looking at, okay, the financial stand of these women. Do they have the capacity, the financial capacity to be able to compete with men?
When do we get to the point where you don't even need to have so much money? People will galvanize. People will begin to, like we see in some more mature democracies, and people believe in your idea, your ideology, your standpoint, some of the things you have said on the podium, and begin to bring in money.
We're getting there. We're getting there. You know why I say so? In 2019, nobody ever thought that it was possible for any other political party, apart from PDP and APC, for instance, to win elections. Some of us won elections with 0 kobo.
All right, before I let you go, let's take this one. The APC leadership has challenged youths of the party to contest for every available elective position in Nigeria.
Policymakers, political appointees now from our party can engage with our professionals, stakeholders in the party in reading out their outstanding achievements and performances. It will reduce the stress in communicating to our communities.
Show me any government that has brought in a social program that touched directly to the people, that has a direct link with the masses. As I'm talking to you now if you go to villages, people are the bank are full with people taking their 20,000 naira from the PWD works. Everywhere in Nigeria, people are having access.
A lot of these people who are calling for secessions, they're the problem of this country. And I'm happy that reasonable voices are now rising. Nigerians want to be one, they want to continue. Yes, there are problems, and we are hoping that as people united and loving of one another, we'll come together and solve our own problems.
Before I let you go, interaction with the would-be voter. How have you been going about it, and what's the response of Nigerians generally, or just wait on to the eve of election and distribute bags of salt?
No. That's not part of us as a party. We've never gone that way, and we will never go that way. What we do is to talk to Nigerians. You know, most of the things we do, we don't have to go on air to tell you these are the things we are doing. In as much as the use of the media is very key in advertising what we are doing as a political party, there are so many things, door-to-door interactions, community-to-community interactions, and all of that, from school to school, organizing programs, you know, interactive sessions and all of that, especially with the youths. We are involved deeply in all those things, and then we know that it is not right. Like I told you, the election cycle is 4 years. So we will not wait like others do. It is those ones with huge monies that wait until the elections are close by before they go out.
Thank you very much for coming. Agbo Major, of course, is of IPAC and, of course, of the New Nigerian People's Party. Thank you for being here. Before I let you go, let me share one with you. Even we need to also tell the electorate to shun, you know, little things that they get gratification, because on the way to the polling booth, there's NTA, please, can you show us where they are distributing money?
I thought you would have asked me that question, because that's one of the things I would have wanted to dwell more on.
All right, there'll be
what
time.
we are saying is 4 years of inactivity by their representatives. Just because they come, give you what they have, you vote for them, they go away, you don't see them again. You know, so we must move beyond the politics of taking, you know, material gifts from politicians, casting votes for them, and you don't get to see them again.
All right, that concludes Political Update. Thanks for watching. And of course, we'll be back again on Tuesday. But before then, keep it locked on the Nigerian Television Authority, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. My name is Fisa Ogunfe. Thanking you for staying tuned. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye now.